Welcome students. Today we are going to learn about crop production and management. This chapter is under CBSE Standard 8 syllabus. So why we are learning this chapter and why crop production and management and healthy agricultural practices are very important. So these are some of the reasons that humans, animals are directly or indirectly depending upon the plants. This we have already learned in 7th standard, that each and every food chain starts from autotrophs, from plants or from vegetation. They are the only one for us who are making their own food with the help of solar energy. So bee and other animals and other organisms are directly or indirectly depending upon these plants, and the crop what we are cultivating or whatever vegetation we are cultivating, we and animals are directly or indirectly depending upon them. Second, we need food. We know that to survive and to live a healthy life, we require food. We require a lot of healthy food like vegetables, and apart from that all those supplements like protein, carbohydrate, fat, vitamin, mineral, all those things we require. All these things we are getting from that vegetation, and they are the first source that we are going to get all these nutrients from them. Then in order to provide food to large population, we know that day by day our population is increasing, and to give food to all this population, it is very important that we should follow proper management and production for this agriculture or for this cultivation. Healthy and effective agriculture practices are important. Why healthy? Because if we are using more and more of pesticides and chemicals, then it is in turn going to harm our nature. So that's why we required healthy. And why we required effective? It should be effective, then only we can protect our crop from the pest, from the insect, and we will get good amount of crop. Our yield will be good, and then only we can suffice the need of large population. So for all these reasons, we required crop production and management. And effective techniques of crop production and management will give us high amount of yield and healthy amount of yield. Now let us first know what is the meaning of crop and what are the types of crop. So this is a definition of crop, that plants of same kind are cultivated at one place on a larger scale is called crop. So for example, the field of wheat crop, that if in a very large farm, in a very large scale, in a very large area, if we are growing a wheat, then it is known as crop of wheat. If it is a field of rice, then it is known as paddy field. It is known as paddy field. So crop is plant of same kind are cultivating in a large area is known as crop. Now there are different types of crops, that cereals, vegetables and fruits. Cereals includes wheat, rice, maize, groundnut, all those are considered as cereals. Now the season in which the farmers are sowing their crops, according to that we are classified them into two types or two categories. First is Kharif crops and second is Rabi crops. Kharif crops are sown in rainy season, and in India from June to September is considered as rainy season. And examples are paddy means rice, maize, soyabean, groundnut and coconut are the example of Kharif crop which are sown in rainy season. Rabi crops are wheat, gram, pea, mustard and linseed. They are sown in a winter season, and in India the winter season is from October to March. In my previous video we have discussed about what are the crops, what are the types of crops, and on what basis we are categorized them into Rabi crop and Kharif crop. So here we are following certain agriculture practice so that our crop will be healthy and yield will be good. So first is preparation of soil, then comes sowing, adding manure and fertilizer, then comes irrigation, protecting from weeds, harvesting and storage. Each and every step is very important when we are talking about healthy crop production and management techniques. Now, each one of these techniques we are going to learn in detail, and we are going to see that what are the challenges in these fields and how we can address them. Now let us discuss our first agricultural practice, and that is preparation of soil. So first, turn the soil and loosen it, and this is also known as plowing, tilling, and we also term this practice as loosening up the soil or plowing of the soil. So why we need to do that? Because the top layer of the soil is always supporting plant to grow. Now whatever dead and decaying matter will be there, that organic matter will be here beneath the level of the top layer. This organic matter and nutrients will be here just below the top layer. Now this organic matter, after they will get decomposed by the bacteria, they will release all these nutrients into the soil. These nutrients will help plant to grow, and that layer is just beneath or just below the top layer. So once we will loosen up the soil, once we will tilling it or once we will plowing it, what we are doing is we are mixing this two layer and we are taking this below layer at top level. So this layer will help plant to grow and it will suffice all the nutrient needs of plant. So this is the whole purpose of doing this practice. So turn the soil and loosen it. This will allow roots to go deep inside the soil. This is the first advantage. Once we will lose this soil, these roots will go deeper down inside and they can take advantage of those nutrients and water. And loosen up the soil will help in growth of earthworm. Now earthworms are friends of farmers because they are adding humus to the soil, and it is very important organic matter for plants to grow. So that's why these two are the basic advantage of loosen up the soil. Now importance of loosen soil, that first one is loosen soil brings nutrient rich soil to top. Then second, top layer supports the plant to grow. So this plant can utilize these nutrients for their growth. Now it is also known as tilling or plowing. Two are other names for this practice. What is plowing? What involves plowing, and in plowing practice what we are following? So these are the steps for the plowing. That first we are watering the soil, so it will become moist and it will be easy to dug the soil and take out the inner layer. Then whatever big clumps of the soil will be there, they are called crumbs. So it is important that we should break them and we will level the soil. Then leveling with the leveler. Once we will plow the soil, we will get some of the big chunks of the soil. We will break all these crumbs. We will break all those crumbs and we are turning them into a soil and we will level the soil. Then sometimes manure also we are adding at this step when we are leveling the soil or when we are plowing the soil. So in turn, when we are mixing this nutrient layer of the soil into the top layer, we are mixing the manure and we are adding some of the manure at this stage, so it will be beneficial for the plant. You can use this as a notes that what are the steps in preparation of the soil, what are other names of loosening of the soil or tilling or plowing, and what are the steps in plowing, and why all these steps are important in agriculture practice. In my previous video, we have learnt about the loosening of the soil, tilling and plowing up the soil. Now, today we are going to learn about plow, hoe, cultivator and traditional tools. So under this category, we are going to learn about some modern tools and some traditional tools. So let us learn all these things about these tools with their graphics and with their pictures. Agriculture implements. The meaning of implements is tools. Whatever tools we are using for the agriculture purpose, they are called agriculture implements. Under this category, we are going to learn three tools. First is plow, second is hoe, and third one is cultivator. This is a manual cultivator, and nowadays we are using tractors as a cultivator. So let us understand first about plow. So the purpose, function, or where it is used, then it is used in tilling of the soil, adding fertilizer to the crop, and removing the weeds and turning the soil. For all these four purposes we are using plow, and the process is known as plowing. Now this is made up of wood and drawn by a pair of bulls or animals. As we can see, it has been tied along with the pair of bulls. So it is made up of wood. As you can see, this complete log is made up of wood. It contains a strong triangular iron strip called plowshare. So as we can see here, this is triangular and it is made up of iron, which will go inside the land and it will turn the soil upside down. It will go inside the soil and it will turn soil upside down. The main part of the plow is long log of wood which is called a plow shaft. The plow shaft, as you can see into the figure, this long log of wood is known as plow shaft. There is a handle at one end of the shaft. The other end is attached to a beam which is placed on bull's neck. Here as we can see, there are two ends. This is one end and this is the second end. As we can see here, there is a handle which will be in the hand of the farmer. This second end is attached to the beam which is placed on bull's neck. So there will be two ends. One end as we can see it here and second end is over here. The pair of bulls and a man can easily operate the plow. The indigenous wooden plow is increasingly being replaced by iron plows nowadays. As the modern techniques are coming into agriculture, the ancient and indigenous tools are being replaced by modern tools. Our second tool is hoe, and it is used for removing weeds and loosening up the soil. As we can see into the figure, this band plate is a very hard plate. It is being dragged on the land and it will take out the weed, and it is being dragged up on the land by animal. So it has a long rod of wood or iron as we can see here. That a strong broad and bent plate of iron is fixed on the other hand and it will work like a blade. So we are talking about this bent plate. It is pulled by the animal and weed will get removed, and along with that it is also used in loosening of the soil. Then third one is cultivator. So nowadays plowing is done by tractor driven cultivator, and the use of cultivator saves the labor and time. As we can see here, the tractor is being used for plowing and it is also used for cultivation. What is a sowing? So sowing is a good quality seeds placed in a land such that it will germinate. So for this we have to check the quality of the seed and we have to place them properly in a moist land so that it will germinate and we will get good yield of crop. Then why quality of seed is important? So before sowing it is very important to select clean and good quality seed, as the quality and yield of crop is depending upon the seed. So this is one of the biggest reason that why our seeds are healthy and they should be clean, because the yield of the crop means what amount of crop you will get at the end of this farming, that is known as yield of the crop, is depending upon the seed. Then seed which give high yield are preferred. Among the healthy seeds also, the variety of seed which will give high amount of yield, those kinds of seeds are preferred over other seeds. Then taste for good seed. How to check that these seeds are good and they are healthy, so that we will germinate them, they will give us good yield. So we can soak them in a water. Why we need to soak them in a water? Because the seed which are damaged or which are eaten up by the pest, they will be hollow from within and they will be lighter. So once we will place them in a water, they will float on the water. So if seeds are floating on the water, that means they are not good for the cultivation. And if seeds are heavier, they are healthy, then they will sink it down into the water. That means they are healthy, they are good for the cultivation. So damaged seeds will be hollow and lighter, so it will float on the water. So this one test we can perform on the seed and we can check that whether these seeds are proper for our cultivation or not. Now there are some tools and there are some implements which we can use for the cultivation. There are two types of tools, one which are traditional and one which are modern tools. So now let us learn about the tools for the sowing. So there are two types of tools. One is traditional tool in which we are using funnel. Funnel will have 2 to 3 pipes. These pipes are having sharp ends. So once these pipes they are dragging onto the land, this will sowing a seed into the land. So this sharp ends will pierce the land and then from here the seed will go and we can sow the seed into the land. So this is one of the traditional tool. Now modern tool involves seed drilling. As the name suggests, this is actually a drilling. They are piercing the soil, they are putting the seed. But as this is a machine, it will sow seed uniformly at equidistance. And here sometimes what will happen that at some place more seeds will be there, some place there will be no seed, because this pipe should work perfectly fine when they are piercing and when they are placing the seed on the land. But this is manual, whereas this is a machine. So it will work uniformly compared to the funnel. After sowing, it will also cover the soil on the seed. After sowing, it covers the soil on it so that seeds will get protection from the birds. Birds will not eat the seed and seed will be there and they will germinate, and all the seeds will get equal amount of manure, fertilizer and water because they are placed at equidistance. So crop will be uniform and uniform distribution of seeds will give high yield of crop. Now let us understand the difference between the traditional tool, that is funnel, and the seed drill, and why nowadays the seed drill is preferred over the funnel. Now let us see the difference between funnel and seed drill. We can also write this answer for the question that why seed drills are preferred over funnel, or why traditional tools of sowing seed are not often used and modern tools are used, or modern tools are in demand, or simple, the difference between seed drill and funnel. So how this will work and how this will work. Let us see the difference. It is manual, so sometimes even distribution of seeds are not possible, and this will cause a chaotic situation in cultivation. Somewhere more seeds are there, more plants will be there, and somewhere very less plants are there. So even distribution of water, even distribution of manure will not be possible in this situation. Whereas here it is machine, so seeds are placed evenly and at an equal distance. So each and every plant will get equal amount of manure, water and fertilizer. After sowing, seeds will not get covered by the soil because it is manual. If you want to cover the seed, then we have to do it manually. Whereas here after sowing the seed, it will get covered by soil and it will protect them from the bird by getting eaten up. This process is manual, so it is tedious, it is tiresome and requires lot of hard work, and the outcome is not as good as seed drill. Whereas this will save time and labor, it is quick and it is very efficient. So that's why modern tools are preferred over traditional tools. Now let us see what are the important conditions for the sowing, or how seeds should be placed in the land. So there are 4 conditions for that. First one is very important, that is appropriate distance between seeds should be there. We should avoid overcrowding. Then place between plants will allow them to get proper sunlight, nutrients and water, and that is why we require sufficient distance and appropriate distance between 2 seeds, because when they will germinate they will become big plants. They required some space in between 2 plants so that they all will get equal amount of sunlight, nutrient and water, and then only the healthy growth of plant will be possible. So overcrowding should not be there. Now what is the meaning of overcrowding? At one place so many seeds are there, so many plants will grow from those seeds. Now they will compete with each other for the water, nutrient. So they all will not get a proper benefit of water and nutrient. Now when the overcrowding will happen at some places on the farm, then removal of some plants will be helpful. So we should pluck out some of the plants, so whatever plants will be there in that particular land will get enough amount of nutrients and water. Now in this, the substance which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients for the healthy growth of plants are called manure or fertilizer. So this will be the definition of manure and fertilizer. That what are these substance? That these are the nutrients. Why are we added into the soil? We are adding them for the healthy growth of the plant. So they are manure and fertilizer. Now why we need to add manure and fertilizer to the soil? So soil supplies nutrient to the plant. They are very essential for the plants. If we are giving them enough amount of nutrients, then only the plant will grow healthily. So farmers grow crop after crop in the same field. We know that Rabi crop and Kharif crop. So farmers are growing crops in the same field, in the same land, one crop after another crop, and this crop rotation will go on. Because of this, the continuous cultivation makes soil poor in nutrients. Plants are continuously taking nutrients from the soil. After some time, soil will deficient in nutrients. So farmers need to add manure to replenish the soil. We have to give back all the nutrients to the soil, then only the further cultivation of healthy plants will be possible. So we need to add manure to the soil, so we are giving back all the nutrients back to the soil. Now when we are adding manure to the soil, this process is known as manuring. Now manure and fertilizer. Manure is organic substance, whereas fertilizer is chemical substance. Now let us see the difference and see that which are more beneficial to us. Now let us understand what is the manure and what are the fertilizers. So manure is basically an organic substance. How we are getting it is obtained from the decomposition of plants and animal waste. So what farmers will do is they will dig a pit and they will drop here all the dead leaves and animal waste into this, and they will allow this matter to decompose. The microorganism, bacteria will decompose this matter, and later this decomposed matter is called manure. This manure they are using for replenishing of soil. Now fertilizer. They are lab based, they are man-made, and they are chemical compound. Examples are urea, NPK and ammonium phosphate. In this NPK fertilizer, N stands for nitrogen, P stands for phosphate and K stands for potassium. So nitrogen, phosphate and potassium, these three substances are important for the crop, and this fertilizer is known as NPK fertilizer. Then other two are urea and ammonium phosphate. These fertilizers are important for wheat, paddy and maize crop. Now let us understand what are the conditions for using this manure and using this fertilizer, and which is more beneficial to us. Now let us understand why manure is better than the fertilizer, or why manure is preferred over fertilizer. So there are 5 points for that. First is excessive use of fertilizer makes soil less fertile. Continuous use of chemical compounds will make soil less fertile. Second point is fertilizers also cause water pollution. Now once we are using continuously this chemical substance or fertilizer, then eventually along with the rainwater it will go till the reservoir and it will mix with the water of the reservoir, and this is the reason why we are saying that fertilizer will cause water pollution. Then third point is, in order to make soil fertile, we have to use manure instead of fertilizer. Why? Because manure is organic substance, they are biodegradable, they are natural, and they will replenish soil with all the nutrients what have been used up over a period of time. After adding manure, leave field uncultivated between two crops. So this manure, this decomposed organic matter will again give all the nutrients back to the soil, and it also gives back its soil texture and water retaining capacity. By adding manure, the water retaining capacity of the soil will improve, and this will beneficial for the next crop. So these are some of the conditions for using manure and fertilizer, and this is the answer for that why manure is better than fertilizer. Let us understand the difference between fertilizer and manure. So fertilizer, as we discussed, they are man-made inorganic salt. We are making them into the factories, whereas manure is a natural substance obtained by decomposition of organic matter. Earlier we have discussed that farmer will dig a pit and he will drop all the animal waste and dead plant leaves into that pit and allow them to decompose by bacteria or microorganisms. So they will decompose this matter, and later what we will get is this decomposed organic matter, and it is called manure. So manure can be prepared in field. Now fertilizer will not provide any kind of humus to the soil, whereas manure will provide lot of humus to the soil. Fertilizers are very rich in nitrogen, phosphate and potassium. As we know, one of the fertilizer is NPK fertilizer, and they are rich in all these nutrients. Whereas manure is relatively less rich in plant nutrients. So this is the basic difference between fertilizer and manure. Now let us understand what are the basic advantages of manure, how it is beneficial for the soil and how it will change the soil. So what are the basic advantages of manure and why we will say that manure is preferred over fertilizer? So it enhances the water holding capacity of the soil. More and more the soil will hold water, it will be beneficial for the crop. So it enhances this capacity. Second, it makes soil porous, and due to which the exchange of gases becomes easy. Because of this decomposed organic matter, the soil texture will change and soil texture will become porous. So gaseous exchange will become easy and it will beneficial for the plants. It increases the friendly microbe. This microbe will be beneficial for the plant, so it increases this count. It improves the texture of the soil. It provides a lot of humus to the soil. So overall it is very beneficial for the plants, and that's why we will say that manure is preferred over fertilizer. Why irrigation is very important, and we are giving always proper importance to watering a plant. So these are the reasons. This is why we need optimum water for our plants. So why proper watering is important for crops? So first is, it is important for the growth and development. Second, water is absorbed by the plant roots, and along with the water, minerals and fertilizers are also absorbed. Now along with the water, plant roots are absorbing minerals and fertilizers also. So they are also important for healthy plant growth and for maximum yield. So water is important. Third, plants contain nearly 90% of the water, and water is essential for germination. Under dry condition, seeds will not germinate. So it required proper amount of water, it required amount of moisture so that seed will germinate, and nearly 90% of water will be there in the plant. So that is why also water is important. Fourth one, nutrients dissolved in water are transported to each part of the plant. Once we are dissolving the nutrients, fertilizer and micronutrients into water, and we are watering the plant, that water will reach till the leaves and all the part of the plant, and this is how the nutrients are being transported to each part via water. Fifth one, water protects the crop from frost and hot air current. So if weather condition is not optimum, in that situation also water will be helpful for the crop for their survival. Need to maintain proper moisture in the soil for healthy crop growth. So optimum water level in the soil is very important. It is important for the nutrients, for the fertilizer, Water will save plant from the hot and cold condition, and that is why the water and the irrigation is very important for the water. So now let us learn about irrigation. So what is irrigation? The supply of water to crops at regular interval is called irrigation. All the fields and farms are not always near to the reservoir from where they will get the water. All the fields do not have the wells in the fields. So irrigation is the channel of the water, or irrigation is a system via which government is providing water to each field and each farm, so farmers will not face any scarcity of the water and they will get water at regular interval for their crop. The time and frequency of irrigation varies from crop to crop and soil to soil and season to season. It is depending upon crop, like it's a paddy field or it's a crop of a wheat, then water level will vary. Paddy fields require much more water compared to wheat. Then soil to soil. Some soil are having a texture in which they can retain moisture for longer period of time. So their need of water is less. Whereas some soils are having a granular structure and sandy structure, which will lose moisture fast. So their water requirement is higher than the other type of soil. Then season to season. If it is a rabi crop, or if it is a kharif crop, or if you are taking in a season which season is a dry, then water level will vary according to season. So that is how the water level is depending upon the crop, season and type of soil. Sources of irrigation. Wells, tube wells, ponds, lakes, river, dams and canals are the sources of irrigation. Now there are two types of irrigation system. Now let us learn first about traditional irrigation system. We will see and we will learn via pictures that how this traditional irrigation system will work and how farmers are using them. So let us first talk about the moat or pulley system in irrigation. So it is a manual irrigation method. By this method, water is directly taken out of well with the help of pulley and it is used to irrigate the field. As we can see here, this is a pulley on the well and this farmer is every time taking out this pot from the well with the help of pulley and he is putting the water in this where this water will go to the farm. As we can see here, these are the lines where the water will flow towards the crop and this is how they are watering the field. So this system is known as moat or pulley system. This is a complete manual system. Now our second irrigation system is chain pump. So the chain pump is a type of water pump in which several circular discs are positioned on an endless chain. One part of the chain dipped into the water. As we can see here from the reservoir, this chain is coming and here the pulley is there. So as the filled buckets are coming here, this pulley will help the bucket to get emptied and this water will go to the field. So one part of the chain dipped into the water. So this part will be dipped into the water and it will get bucket filled with the water till the end. So it is getting the bucket filled with the water and here we are watering the crop. Now our third irrigation system is Dekli. And here in this system, to extract water from well or irrigation, Dekli irrigation system use rope or a container. So as we can see, one big log of wood will be there and that will be supported on another log of the wood. One end of the log will have a huge rock or a weight so that it will help to take out the water from the well. So once it will be down towards the earth, the water filled bucket will come up. Once farmer will take the water from the bucket, there will be no weight in the bucket. This end of the log will go down and this other end will go up. So if there are two ends A and B, if there is a water, then this will, the bucket is filled with the water, then A end of the log will come up, and if it is emptied, there will be less weight, then it will go down into the well to get it filled. So it is still utilized in many regions and considered to be one of the most cost effective approaches as the farmer is putting the water here and he can water the field. Our next irrigation system is Rahat. So in this method, the water is drawn off the well by animal like cow, buffalo and oxen etc. are connected to a wheel. As they are moving around this log, this water will get filled into the bucket and it will water the entire crop. Under irrigation, now let us learn about modern methods of irrigation. Under modern method of irrigation, there are two types of system. First one is sprinkler system and second one is drip irrigation. So here we are going to understand about sprinkler system. So it is used for uneven land where sufficient water is not available. So for those kind of land it is very useful. How it will work? So this is a working of sprinkler system. As we can see here, this is a well or a reservoir. From that we are taking out a water with the help of electric pump, and that water will be circulated into the pipes. These pipes are connected to the rotating sprinkler. Once the water will flow from here, it will go till the pipe, till this rotator, and it will comes out with a pressure. So it is like a fountain and the water will fall on the crop as if it is raining. So perpendicular pipes plus rotating nozzle on the top. So this nozzle will fill the water on the crop. Water is allowed to flow through the pipes under pressure, so it will sprinkle on the crop as if it is raining. You must have seen this type of sprinkler system in a garden and in a lawn. This is helpful for the lawn and coffee plantation and several other crop fields where uneven land is there and sufficient water is not available. Now let us learn about second modern method of irrigation, and that is drip system. In this system, water falls drop by drop directly near the roots, and that is why it is known as drip irrigation. Drip by drip we are giving water to the plant, and that's why it is known as drip irrigation. And it is used for fruit plants, garden and trees. Now what are the advantages of this drip irrigation system? That water is not at all wasted. So it is a boon and it is a very advantageous method of watering a plant where water is very poorly available or water scarcity is there. So this is one of the most advantageous method of irrigation. Now let us understand what is this weed and why we need to protect our crop from the weed. So weed in a field, many other undesirable plants may grow naturally along with the crop. We are not planting their seeds. They are undesirable. They will grow naturally along with our crop. These undesirable plants are called weed. So these are undesirable and naturally growing plants, and removal of weed is very important, and removal of weed is known as weeding. Now why weeding is very important? Because weed compete with the crop plants for water, nutrients, space and light. So whatever fertilizer, nutrients we are providing to the crop, they are also utilizing them along with the crop. So crop will not get sufficient water, nutrients, space and even sometimes the sunlight. They affect the growth of the plant and crop. So some weeds interfere in harvesting. Now what is the meaning of interfering? Harvesting means while harvesting the crop, by mistake we are taking this weed also along with our crop. And this weed sometimes will be poisonous for animal or for human. So weeding is very important for the healthy growth of our crop. And to avoid this mixing poisonous plant into our crop, weeding is very important. Now we know that weeds are harmful for our crops. So it is important that we should remove them. Now these are the methods of removal of the weed. The first method is tilling before the sowing of seed will help in uprooting and killing of weed, which may dry up and get mixed with the soil. So before sowing, if we will tilling the soil, we have learnt in agricultural practices while sowing we are tilling the soil because below layer is good in nutrients which will be beneficial for crop. So while doing tilling, we can uproot this weed and it will eventually will get dry up and it will mix with the soil. So that is the one way to get rid of weed. Second, it is a manual removal, that physical removal by plucking the weeds, uprooting or cutting them close to the ground, but this we have to do time to time. As they will grow, again we have to pluck them. As and when, time to time, when they will grow up, we have to pluck them closer to the ground. Now manually when we are doing this weeding, we are using kurpi, or we can use this seed drill. So about seed drill we have already learnt in implements of agricultural practices. With the help of seed drill we can remove the weed. Then fourth is weedicides. Now weedicides are the chemicals which we can use to remove the weed. So weeds can also be controlled by chemicals, and they are known as weedicide. Now there are certain conditions when we are spraying weedicides, that at what time we have to spray weedicide and what all care must be taken while we are spraying the weedicide. So let us learn about weedicides. So now let us understand the removal of weeds with the help of weedicides. Weedicides are the chemicals which we are using to remove the weed. So they are sprayed in a field to kill the weed. They do not harm the crop. So how we can use these weedicides? That we are diluting weedicides and we are mixing these chemicals along with the water, and we will spray them on the crop. We are diluting it with the water and spray it in the field with the help of sprayer. We need to spray during the vegetative growth of weed, before flowering and growth of seed. So before the flowers will appear on the weed, we have to spray this. Before vegetative growth of weed, we have to spray this chemical. Now weedicides are harmful chemicals, so while spraying, farmers need to be careful and they need to cover their mouth and nose with piece of cloth. We know that these are chemicals and farmer needs to protect themselves, and they should not get exposed to these chemicals. So they have to cover their nose and mouth while they are spraying this chemical on the weed. And one important condition when we can spray this weed, that before the vegetative growth of weed or this unwanted, undesired plant, we can spray this weedicide, so it will be effective and it will kill the weed and our plant will have a healthy growth. So what is the meaning of harvesting? The cutting of crop after it is matured is called harvesting. So in this method, crops are being pulled out or cut close to the ground after the crop will be matured, and that is known as harvesting. Now in our country, the harvesting is done manually also and or via machine also. If the field is small, the farm is small, then harvesting is done via winnowing, and if the field is large, then farmers are using machines called combiner. So in harvesting, seeds needs to be separated from the chaff. Now what is the meaning of chaff? The unwanted portion of the crop, or we can also say husk. So seed needs to be separated from the plant, and this process is called threshing. So in harvesting, threshing is when we are, after chopping down the crop, we are separating seeds from the chaff. That is known as threshing. Threshing and harvesting both are different things. Harvesting is we are cutting the crop when it is matured, that is harvesting. After cutting a crop, we are doing threshing, that we are separating seed from the unwanted portion of the plant or from the chaff. Now this is done with the help of machine and it is known as combine. If the field is large, then farmers are using combine machine, and that combine is actually a combination of harvester and thresher. Now the farmers who are having a small land, they are using winnowing technique for the separation of the seed. We already know what is the winnowing. Winnowing we are doing with the help of the wind, that from the height the person will allow seed and husk to fall down. With the wind, the husk will go away and seed will fall down. After that they will collect the seed. So that is a method of winnowing. Winnowing is done with the help of wind. So if the harvested grain are to be kept for longer period of time, then it should be safe from moisture, insects, rats and other microorganisms. So they should be fit for the consumption or they should be fit for the germination. If we are taking another crop from this seed, then they should be useful. So storage of the grain is very important, and mostly when they are freshly harvested. At that time the moisture content in the seed is very high. So it is very important that before storing them, we have to dry the seed in a sun completely. Their moisture content has to be reduced and then we can store them. So freshly harvested grains have more moisture. They may get attacked by organisms and they can spoil them. So grain should be properly dried before storing them. So this seed should be fit for the consumption or for the germination. This prevents the attack by fungi and bacteria. When the seeds are free from moisture, this moisture free seed will get protection from fungi and bacteria. Now farmers store their grains in silos and granaries. They are using dried neem leaves and specific chemical treatment to protect their grains while storing them.